I'm sure that the same people that are suing us would have said we could not move forward if it would have failed.
Well, you think I'd be
Now
used
they're
to
just
it, but it
saying
still
that the
catches
timing
me.
was wrong. Like when is it appropriate to actually have annexation?
Melissa?
Well, I
Melissa?
mean, I can't go into that because that's part of the litigation. But
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Petronanda?
Here.
Councilman Best?
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Here.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Here.
Mayor Bain?
I'm here. We have a special guest to do the invocation for us, Ms. Fisher. Please stand.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Bain and City Council officials. It was an honor to be asked by Vice Mayor Petrolanda to give tonight's city invocation. In this season of thankfulness, let us give thanks this day. We thank you, O God, for so many things. Tonight we thank you for our city of Miami Springs, the home of the mansion, the beautiful gazebo, our precious golf course, and the most beautiful people. For the ducks in our driveways and parrots in our trees, the iguanas in our canals, the butterfly gardens and bees. To serve each other is what we love to do, through the Lions, Rotary Optimist, and Women's Club too. Looking for a church home, we thank God for this place. There are Methodists, Catholics, the Baptists, and Grace. We are thankful for this, Tree City, USA, and for Tom Nash at the helm, keeping it that way. We're blessed to have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Little League too. There's karate and bike paths, and now you can launch your canoe. We're blessed to never go hungry in our little city with Sabora's Cozy Corner and My Little Greek Deli. There are farmers markets and River City's festivals too. Keep us safe, O Lord, on Saturdays when the garage sailors come through. We give thanks for our police officers and our firefighter team, and that we could all come together for our new senior center dream. To see the love in this town, just open your Gazette, and a hometown feeling is what you will get. We give thanks for Mayor Bain, second time on this job, for Maria and Myra and Jamie and Bob. We pray for guidance over your work this day of ordinances and resolutions. What would the people say? Lord, we thank you for this harvest season and for this upcoming Thanksgiving, and give special thanks for this beautiful city in which we are living. A little taste of heaven is what this city holds dear. We're so blessed to be part of this paradise right here. With thanks, amen.
Amen. Very nice.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
That was very nice.
Okay, we're going to say the pledge. And right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why don't you come back up and make a quick announcement? It's early in the meeting about your container for the relief, for the hurricane relief.
The Miami Springs Lions Club is very happy to say they have a trailer that is available for donations at this time. It opened this morning, and it will be open through next Tuesday, October 30th. It will be open from 8 to 10 a.m. and from 5 to 7 p.m. And we're collecting donations from our community to go up to the Panhandle, to the areas in need. And as many times as we need to refill those trailers, they will be brought up and emptied. We are collecting items that are non-perishable food items, canned goods particularly. We're asking for no rice, no pastas, things of those nature. Asking for clothes and shoes in good condition, first aid items, household cleaning supplies, water, batteries, flashlights, personal hygiene products, towels and washcloths, baby diapers and formula, trash bags, household cleaning supplies. So those are the items that are on the list. We thank the city for their support.
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We all do. Okay. And you know that prayer was terrific.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to clap for a prayer, but I almost wanted to. Okay. We go to we have business open for. We go open forum. We have Melissa Rojas in open forum. You don't want to talk now?
No, great.
You want to talk on another item? Is that what it is?
My apologies.
Well then.
My apologies. I just thought that the open forum was after everything was reviewed.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
All right. Do you want to talk on any item?
It was on, specifically, I heard that today was going to be, I guess we were going to find out.
The study for.
Yes.
Okay.
So just in case there was something
If
out
you're
of that,
here
I
at
just
that
wanted.
time, I'll have you come up.
Okay, perfect.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you. That concludes open forum. Nobody wanted to talk, but they did anyway. 6A, October 8th, 2018 regular council meeting.
Through the chair, motion to move 6A.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Petralanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we have 8A, public hearing, second reading of an ordinance.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, creating Chapter 80 Special Events of the City Code of Ordinances to provide for related regulations, permits, and outdoor event requirements, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Council, this is on second reading, passed on first reading with amendments. The amendments were included, the scrivener's error corrected. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer it.
I'm going to open up to the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Anybody? Okay, I close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for discussion.
Motion to approve 8A is read.
Second.
Any further discussion on the item? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petralanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. And then we have 8B, a resolution.
I'll go ahead and read it, Mayor. This is a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, approving or denying or approving with conditions variances from section 150.013B2 and 150.013C1 of the city code of ordinances to exceed the maximum permitted fence height on the front yard and to retain a chain link fence in the front yard, respectively, for 109 South Road, Quincy Boulevard, providing for implementation, providing for recordation, and providing for an effective date. Just Mayor and Council, before the public hearing, this is essentially, if I'm not mistaken, your first variance after the change in the code. So essentially, as you recall, the Board of Adjustment would hear a variance, and then the minutes would be before you. Then there was an appeal process and whatnot. We've essentially now created an appropriate step-by-step process where their vote is a recommendation to you, and you have the full record before you for your decision. You have a favorable recommendation from the Board of Adjustment with conditions, and a favorable recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Director with conditions.
Okay. So all we're doing right now is going to uphold it isn't like before. We're just going to uphold their decision.
It's
or-
up, it's up to
Vote
you.
on.
You can
Right.
approve it as it was,
they-
as
as
they
they-
did it. You can deny it, or you can approve it with any further conditions.
Okay.
The conditions are in the resolution. Oh, where's Chris? There's Chris. They're in the resolution, granting, again, the resolution is written not to be presumptuous. Grant, deny, or grant with any additional conditions, but the conditions are listed there, numbers 1 through 6. And the applicant is here in case you want to ask any questions that weren't clear on the record. And Chris is here and I am here. Both of us attended the meeting.
Okay, this is not an appeal to us.
No,
No,
this
okay.
is a variance request to you all. Technically, they were always variance request applications that went before the city council.
Right.
It's just that the way the process was and the way that was positioned on the agenda, it seemed like the council was simply approving minutes, when in reality, even back then, it was always a recommendation and the council was approving it. This is creating an appropriate public hearing and avoided that sort of duplication of, I don't know if you recall, but the code used to say that a council member can pull an item off almost like a quasi-consent and hear a full-blown hearing of it. This is a more streamlined process. They all come to you, you all decide, it creates a clear record, and then from here, it gets appealed to the circuit court like any other quasi-judicial matter.
Okay. Do we open this to public hearing, so I can open up to anybody wish to speak on the item?
Yep.
Does anybody wish to speak on the item? You do?
Yeah.
Council. My name is Victor Anchipolaski. I reside at 115 South Royal Poinciana Boulevard. I am their next door neighbor. And I encourage you to go ahead and pass this. They have done fantastic things with that property since they bought it. I can't say enough about it. She's an attorney, he is an architect. And as an architect, I can assure you that nothing is going to come out here that is going to look bad. I've discussed it. I've lived next door to them for the last 2 years. I live at 115. They live at 109. And we have tossed this thing around. I am sometimes their dog sitter. And those dogs are very important to them. And I encourage you to go ahead and pass it. I assure you that if there's anything there that it doesn't look right, that you'll be hearing from me before you hear from anybody else, because I live next door. But I'm confident that everything's going to be fine there. Just have trust in them, as I do. Okay?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I close the public hearing and entertain a motion for discussion.
Motion to move, sir.
Do I have a second?
I'd like discussion.
Oh, okay, can I get a second, then discuss?
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion.
Could you come up, please? Chris, could you, I guess my question is, and I appreciate that the residents, you know, I know you've done a lot with the property and it does look really nice, very quaint and charming. But everyone has dogs and pets and, you know, that they like. Why would this property be different from any other property along South Royal Poinciana, including the neighbor's property that should be allowed to have the 6-foot fence? Could you explain the part?
Of course,
the
and that's a
fence
good
in front?
question, and I probably never envisioned myself coming before the board or the council recommending a height variance for a fence in the front yard. But there are some circumstances here that are highly unusual. The property sits back. First of all, we have a quirk in our code where there's a standard 30-foot front yard setback, but then if it's further setback, it's the average of the other two properties. It's really unusual, and for me, I think that creates an unfair burden on these property owners. So the property's back 126 feet. The lot size is 15,000 square feet. Almost 10,000 of that is in the front yard, and the remaining 5,000 is in the side and rear yard. So they have a large, 2/3 of their lot that they're really not able to use adequately. They can't put structures there. They can't put shade structures, gazebos, really anything. And if this were a normal situation with 95% or more of the lots in the city, the house could be at 30 feet. You'd have a 30-foot, 2-story wall, if you will, at 30 feet. So we discussed the options, and I suggested rather than a 6-foot fence, a 6-foot height variance for a fence along the front, which is what they originally wanted, we discussed, what if we pushed it back 30 feet, you leave the 4-foot fence in the front, and then there's a second layer of 6 feet back at 30 feet, where in most cases the house could be. So my thinking is, if you can have the 30-foot tall wall of a 2-story house, why not a 6-foot fence? Also, there's a chain link fence on the south side that comes to the property line. They have agreed to remove that fence for that first 30 feet and replace it with 4-foot horizontal metal slat fence like you've seen in the picture. It's very attractive. So the front and the south side, the first 30 feet of that would be the 4 feet, and then 30 feet back with the 6-foot fence would start. The fence itself will be covered with hedge, so the only place that you'll see a 6-foot fence in the front yard is the 6-foot gate 30 feet back from the 4-foot gate, and that's it. Everything else will be completely covered with hedge. We had some comments from some of our board members that normally they would also be opposed to a fence height variance in the front yard. What we call eyes on the street. You like the yard to be open, people able to look in and see that nothing nefarious is going on in your property, and likewise you can look out from the property to the street, but being so far back that it has no value. There's no eyes on the street that are going to be 126 feet plus back. So I think the case is highly unusual. Also, of course, it's on the canal. You know, obviously see the issue that they've had with the dogs being back there. They've tried everything that they can to put the electric collars on the dogs, all kinds of mechanisms to keep the dogs in, but they keep jumping the 4-foot fence. So they came up with a solution now where they unfortunately come and razor tie the chain link fence to the side fence, cut it open when they leave, put them back, cut it open when they come back, go in, put it back. It's untenable for me. So I thought, you know, if you talk about hardship, this is a case where I think there really is a hardship involved in both the layout of the property and the use of the property.
Mayor and Council, if I may, I mean, you can think about this in terms of like a formula, and you know that I'm a hawk when it comes about establishing precedent. So not only do you have unique circumstances on the property in terms of its layout, you also have to think about its geographic location, insofar as on a major thoroughfare near one of our gateways into Hialeah, across the street from a school, which by its very nature has a morning and afternoon transient population. I'm not calling anybody a transient, I'm just saying that they're in and out. What's more is then you also have to look at the other side of the formula, which is what they're requesting. So the most extreme and dangerous condition would be this typical property, and they want to put a 6-foot tall fence, and they have a 30-foot yard setback, and I mean, essentially that would apply to almost every property in Miami Springs. You've got unique circumstances, and the relief that they're requesting is also unique in that how many people are really going to come forward and request the erection of a secondary fence line in their property. The other thing that weighed on the board, and certainly on Chris and me when we looked at this, is the fact that if they wanted to, whether by addition or by demoing and building a new home, that home could also come forward some, based on the formula that Chris pointed out of the average between the two properties. So, given, I tried to make it not about the dogs, because how many residents can't articulate an argument about protection of their pets, and more about the unique characteristics of the property and the relief sought.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
So just to clarify, what we're going to see from the street on this property, the fence that we would see from the street would be a 42?
That's correct, and that's in
fence
place.
across. And then actually, if you look into the property in the back, there would be a 6-foot fence.
Which will be covered with a dense hedge of equal height. The only thing that would be open, because it has to be open, is the gate. So again, you would see the 42-inch gate unenclosed with landscaping, and then 30-foot back, a 6-foot gate of the same quality materials.
At the
is all you'll
setback
see.
where they could build their house forward to. If they were to expand their house, they would be building it, they would have the ability to build it.
Not in this location because of the average of the two houses. They're both so far back there. But like the city attorney pointed out, there is the room for that house to march forward. And what we see ultimately through a redevelopment process, we feel these houses are going to start creeping up. One can go a little further, and then the average suddenly becomes a little further, and then a redevelopment of the next one lets it come further. And then somebody wants to do an addition, and they come further. It's probably going to creep up there at some point, but it would take quite some time. But
We've seen that creep on Hunting Lodge a little bit, where you've got once they build a bigger home, and then they look at the average and push it up a little bit compared to the home that was further back. So, I mean, there are 3 streets or 3 areas, essentially 2 streets, 3 areas that have that characteristic. Royal Point Sienna, then you also have Hunting Lodge on the north side, those properties that are abutting the golf course. And then on the south side of Hunting Lodge, you have the properties across the street from the golf course, which one of the board members said that the reason that those properties are so far back is because originally, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll take him at his word, that those properties had stables, and ultimately their backyards are now in Virginia Gardens. But that was an interesting tidbit that I didn't know about those properties.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else?
I do. Now, when the family purchased his home, these features were non-existent, correct?
the fences,
Yeah, the way the house is set up now.
that,
Everything that you outlined,
yeah, the house was existing.
like that, when
Yes.
they purchased it that way. Okay. Most homes in that area, we spoke earlier. I drove by the home and we spoke about it. I think, in my opinion, most homes in that area are in a similar situation. So I don't feel comfortable giving them a variance, okay, unless we change the code. I'm willing to contemplate changing the code for everyone. But just to give them a variance because the situation they find themselves in now, I just not seeing it.
Change the code how?
to allow other homes to do the same thing, because most of those homes are all the way in the back.
To build up to 30 feet?
Yes.
The problem is, even if we change the code, and I have contemplated, and we'd like to have some discussions with affected property owners to see if they agree or disagree with that. The problem is, even if we made the setback a standard 30 feet across the board, it's still in the front yard, and the fence would still be limited to 42 inches, even if we changed the code to allow it to be built to.
So you're asking us to give a variance that would still not allow us to make it that where if you want to do it, you can't do it? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm a little confused.
Again, we could change it, but if we change the setback to a standard 30 feet, not the average of your neighbors.
Right.
Their house is still 126 feet back. The maximum height for a fence in the front yard is 42 inches. So in that 126 feet, that 10,000 square foot front yard, the fence would still be limited to 42 inches unless we did further code revisions that I think would start to get a little complicated and a little loose. You know, for this case, you know, we always talk in terms of if we see these issues coming up before you again and again and we approve them all the time, then we want to go in and change the code. This isn't one of those. This is one of those one-offs that we've seen this one time and one time only. I doubt we will ever see it again. Perhaps we will, who knows. But it's something that, for me, this is a case that we handle by variance, not by code change.
Okay, also on the, I think I read that, that your home was broken in while under construction 4 times, and that's why you got the dogs? Is that what, is it? How long were you under construction? Over a year, right? Mayor, do you need her to come up?
I don't, do you want to?
Well, I mean, we're talking, and do you need to?
You want her to come up?
Yes,
Come
yeah.
on up.
This works for me, I'm just saying. I don't know for the record. Yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
So yes, we bought the house in 2013 and we moved into it in 2016, beginning of the year. And
3 years.
yeah, during that time we got burglarized a few times, and the officers who attended the calls suggested that we get dogs because that would help for people not to be so comfortable going to our house, and because we weren't living there. So, and in the process we got, of course, attached to the dogs, and I guess you guys saw the rest of the story.
Okay,
Go
go ahead.
The alligator that got the dog, but if you have a fence, whether it's 3 feet, an alligator's not going to climb a 3-foot fence, so the height of the fence has nothing to do with the alligator. Am I correct?
We were avoiding that the dogs stayed on the backyard. We want them to use more the front yard. Also, because of the canal, it's not just alligators. I
But
don't
if
know.
you were to fence in your canal along the back, so that you would have to have a fence and a gate to access your canal, what I guess I'm getting across is the alligator. You know, you bought a house on a canal, on a
Yes.
natural canal,
Yes.
and the way to keep an alligator out is a fence
Right.
with a gate, and that doesn't have any bearing on the height of the gate.
Right.
The other issue, my perspective is, as much as you love your dogs, and I'm sure they're wonderful dogs, against issuing anyone a variance based on the pets they have, or the age of their children, or whatever, because that varies depending on what homeowner, and really anyone could claim those issues. Even being burglarized, there are measures to take for being burglarized. I think what's different in this case, and the idea of allowing somebody a variance to have a fence, a 6-foot fence across the front of their yard, I would be against it. I think the only difference in this case is that the fence at the front of your yard will be 42 inches. So
Yes.
it will be consistent with what's required. What you're really having is a backup fence in the back that would be 6 feet high.
Yeah.
So in essence, that doesn't disturb anything along the front property line of the, visually, and you're going to have it covered by hedge, so it's
Yes.
really where your house would be.
Right. If it was new construction.
Anything else?
Yeah, just briefly, I think this is clearly a case of applied logic. I don't think we're going to have any situations that are going to come up close to this. Chris, I may be wrong, but I doubt it. And you know, we've seen up here many times situations that are awkward. When Jan Seeden was sitting in Dan's seat over there, he always used to mention that we have a lot of irregular properties in Miami Springs, a lot of pie-shaped lots, and we don't know where the front is or the side is, and that particular area that you live on in South Royal are some pretty large properties, similar to Hunting Lodge. And I rode by it and took a peek at it myself. I see nothing wrong with this, and I'd also like to mention it was refreshing to see a neighbor come up in support of something like this, because normally we see it just the other way around. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd just like to say that this is really, for me, not, I don't see it as something about the dogs. I see it more as someone who has put a lot of effort in maintaining their property and making their property much nicer than it was when they bought it, and who cares about this community. And yes, there is a situation with the dogs, but we have the city planner who's telling us, and I know he's extremely conscientious and has the best interest of this community in mind, that it's going to be aesthetically pleasing and safe for you, the people who live there, not so much the dogs. So I have no issue with it.
Okay, I got a first and a second to approve it.
You do,
Call,
sir.
call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolano?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes,
Thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate it.
you got it. Have a good evening. Okay, we go to consent agenda.
Mayor and Council, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. These are all funded and/or budgeted. 9A is a recommendation by Public Works that council authorize the issuance and/or execution of purchase orders to Computer Electric, City RFP 05-16/17 attached on an as-needed basis for electrical repair citywide in the amount of $300,000 of purchase order for all electrical work citywide as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111E1 of the City Code. 9B, recommendation by Golf that council approve an expenditure in an amount not to exceed $23,500 to Awnings Universal, the lowest responsible quote, after obtaining 3 written quotes which are attached, for new awnings to provide cover for maintenance equipment as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111C2 of the City Code. 9C, recommendation by Public Works that council approve the appropriation of funds to Craven, Thompson and Associates in an amount not to exceed $22,400 for alley and drainage improvements as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111E5 of the City Code, and this is under the Stormwater Fund.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda is read.
I'll second it.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolano?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. We go on to 10, old business. We have, oh, I'm missing one. No, I got 10A. This is a presentation on South Poinciana Boulevard traffic study. Raphael, however you say your last name. Huh? De La Sosa. You have the floor, sir. This thing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Manager. I'm Rafael de la Sosa with R.J. Bear and Company, and basically just a quick presentation on the study that we did regarding Royal Poinciana Boulevard. And it's just one of the sections of the existing roadway. And basically, the study comprised between East Drive, next to the school, and just west of the Yun Road. Obviously, the concern expressed by the city and the citizen is that there are safety and operational concerns along the Royal Poinciana, mainly speeding vehicle and cut-through traffic. And then the objective of this particular study was to conduct a traffic study to assess vehicular, pedestrian, bicycle, safety and traffic operation along the facility. The study will consider measures and projects to address identified deficiencies. And then we look into traffic calming, road diet. That's what my wife's been trying to get me for a long time. it actually means a reduction of through lanes, bicycle path, pedestrian safety, traffic signal facing modification. We do need that at East Drive. And others' recommendation may become feasible. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the limits are from East Drive to Coolidge Drive. The existing condition, as you are aware, we have a 4-lane undivided roadway with sidewalks on both sides and a grass strip between the roadway and the sidewalk. Basically, for the most part, is a 10-foot lane, a 9-foot grass street, varies a little bit, and a 5-foot sidewalk. Just to give you an idea of the order of magnitude, we established 2 traffic count stations, one on Royal Poinciana, just west of Forest Drive, and the actual two-way traffic is about 6,900 vehicles per day. You know, that's pretty healthy for a collector roadway. And then the northbound, northwest bound traffic was lower, 31, let's say 3,200, and southeast bound, 3,700. At the other station on Royal Poinciana, just west of Sheridan Drive, two-way traffic was about 7,600. Surprisingly, I never thought it was going to be that high, to be honest with you. And then northwest bound, it was much higher than the southeast bound in this particular location. The peak hour directional vehicular volumes along Royal Poinciana, for example, in the AM, in the northwest bound, the highest was 217 vehicles per hour, and that occurred at East Drive. The highest AM in the southeast bound was 525 at Forest Drive. The highest in the PM was northwest bound at East Drive, 436. And the highest during the PM was southeast bound, again at Forest Drive, 315. And then those volumes do not appear to be excessive, except the 525. So they are pretty much within the range of traffic volume that you would expect to see on a local collector, county collector roadway like Royal Poinciana. The level of service for the 24-hour traffic was level of service C, which is very comfortable. And in case you haven't heard this before, just to give you an idea, level of service are letters that indicate the quality of the traffic flow. For example, a level of service A reflects completely free flow condition with minimal or no delay. At the end of the spectrum, level of service F, F means fail, it's that the roadway is over capacity with very, very low vehicular speed, long vehicular queues, and long delays. In a large urban area like Miami-Dade County, for basically arterial roadways and major collectors, you expect to find level of service D, E, and F at signalized intersection. And believe me, Dade County, Miami-Dade County is going to get to such a point that if you find an arterial intersection that is operating at level of service D, please let me know. I'll celebrate that night with champagne. Residential roadways should always maintain a level of service of A through C. The posted speed limit along Royal Poinciana is 35 miles per hour. You have 2 existing signs in the southeast bound direction and 2 existing signs in the northwest bound. However, you will see, if you notice, Royal Poinciana and Forest Drive, going in the northwest direction, even though there is a sign nearby that says 35 miles per hour, the 85% of the speed was 45 miles. That is 10 miles over the speed limit. Southeast bound direction was 42, which is also significantly higher than that. Either somehow this little laser doesn't work. Okay? So just to give you an idea what this is all about.
Take the
Generally is used to assess safety condition is the 85.
Ralph, take the microphone with you.
Yeah, sorry.
Excuse me, I was just wondering, excuse me, what are those booklets for us?
Yeah, yeah.
Can
I will say it's the city attorney's fault. He should have passed it. Okay. The speed data generally is used to assess safety condition is the 85 percentile speed. And as you can see from the table above, there is excessive vehicular speed along Royal Point Siena, especially in the northwest bound near Forest Drive. And of course, this is obviously a significant safety concern. So the study and the data collector was able to confirm the city's and the residents' concern. We went ahead and collected traffic counts at those 5 intersections and did a level of service analysis, and it turned out to be what I was expecting, that all the intersections along Royal Point Siena are operating at very good level of service, A and B. There's only one exception. At East Drive in the morning, it's level of service D, and in the afternoon, East Drive is level of service E. We do have a problem there. And as we did the field review and did the analysis, we discovered that a tremendous amount of time is being given to East Drive at the expense of Royal Point Siena. So we optimized the traffic signal, and if the council approved this study, I would respectfully suggest that the city manager forwards those recommendations to Miami-Dade County. By the way, they did review the report, and they only have very minor comments. So we officially got a letter of approval, of approval from Miami-Dade County Public Works. So we continue with the study, and we did a crash analysis, and we don't have a crash problem there, because if you notice from the table, the average crash type, it's less than 3 crashes per year. And then obviously, since they range from 0 to 3, is not considered significant. Generally, at an intersection, you need to have anywhere from 3 to 5 crashes average per year of a particular crash type before that intersection can be considered unsafe. So what do we have found so far? Definitely there is a significant speeding issue. Traffic-wise, traffic is moving very well. There does not appear to be a crash problem. So we developed 3 alternatives. The 3 alternatives is basically what in the lingo we call the do-nothing alternative. Just keep it the way it is. We came up with alternative number 2, which basically we reduced from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. 2 lanes northwest bound and 1 lane southeast bound. We will add an exclusive bike lane in the northwest bound direction, and in the southeast bound direction we have to have a shared vehicle bike lane. It's being implemented all over the county, so that's nothing that we're establishing any significant. It is being done throughout the county. Obviously, the corresponding pavement markings and signage, signal facing and timing improvement at East Drive, and resurfacing. You need to resurface the road. And that just to give you a pictorial representation of alternate number 2. If you look at the top, I think next time I'll bring my clicker. Anyway, if you see at the top, there's a bike lane, a 6-foot bike lane, 2 through lanes, 1 lane in the southeast bound direction, and if you can see here, it's a share lane with the bicycle. That's what they call the Sharo, and the applicable signage and pavement markings and all that. So that's basically will be alternate number 2. Alternate number 3, we only going to have 2 lanes on Royal Point Siena. We're reducing from 4 to 2. 1 lane in each direction. And the similar as in alternate number 2, we are going to have the exclusive bike lane, northwest bound, the shared vehicle bike lane, southeast bound, a pavement marking, but the difference of this alternative is that it is proposing a raised concrete median between Miller and Coolidge Drive. Why? This is one of the basic principles of what they call the street calming. When you reduce the width of the lane and you introduce an obstacle such as a concrete median, that will, according to the experience in Florida and around the nation, will actually reduce the speed of the vehicle. It acts as what they call in the profession a traffic calming measure. Then in this particular case, since we're going to have a raised median, we're going to have median openings at all the intersections, but at Forest and Sheridan, we will have exclusive left turn lane. And the reason why, according to the traffic count and field observation, those two particular roadways is where you have the most left turning vehicle. And then, of course, signal facing, timing improvement on East Drive, and then, of course, a complete resurfacing. And again, that's alter number 3. If you notice, instead of having 2 northwest bound lane, you have only one in the southeast bound direction, the concrete median, and then the left turn lanes at Forest and Sheridan. Then we did an analysis because we wanted to make sure that when we reduce the lanes, we're not going to create any problem. And as you can see, when you look at alternate 1, 2, and 3, the level of service is between B and A. I mean, it can't get any better than that. And if you notice, in the AM, with the do-nothing alternative, East Drive, it's a level of service D, now it's at C with signal optimization. And at East Drive, we were able to change it from level of service E to C, and then you will have no more long queues along Royal Poinciana. That's assuming that the county wants to implement those, okay? All right. So anyway, just to, in conclusion, yes, we do have a problem with vehicular speeding. There is a safety concern, a very serious concern. All analyzed intersections are operating at very satisfactory level of service, except East Drive during the PM. We noticed that most pedestrian and bicycle activity within the study area occur near the East Drive due to being next to the school. We didn't detect any safety issues with the children or the bicycle. I mean, I know you have a better idea because I only went there with my engineers about 4 or 5 times. You folks live here, you probably know that better than I do. But anyway, we did not see any significant safety issues. And guess what? Your fears were also confirmed. You do have cut-through traffic. And then by reducing the number of lanes and with the raised concrete median, you're going to slow the vehicle down. So among the recommendations that we're making, we are respectfully recommending to implement alter number 3. Again, the 2 lanes, 1 in each direction, resurface within speed limit. The raised concrete median between Miller and Coolidge. The left turn lanes at Forest and Sheridan. Exclusive bike lane in the northwest bound direction. The shared vehicle bike lane in the southeast bound direction. Signal facing and timing improvement at East Drive. And then one thing that we are recommending that it works very well is install the dynamic devices. Those are those boxes that when you travel, it says your speed is so and so. Those are usually work very well. But you also need for everything to work together. There's no one single item that you put your finger and that's it. You know, it's just like making a soup, right? Grandma used to throw malanga, you know, plantains, chicken, beef, and everything. Not one single item will do it. It's just the whole thing, and then the soup. You should have tried Grandma's soup, the best in the world. Anyway, the thing is that in order to have a cohesive implementation, you need to continue to have police enforcement. So, members of the council, we respectfully submit to you that alter number 3 be adopted, and it's been approved by the county, I repeat. The only thing is that if the council decides to approve it, that this report be officially sent to the county, to Ms. Alice Bravo, asking them to help in whichever way they want, and then of course to make the signal facing timing change at East Drive. And with that, I thank you, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Quick question before they get to council. Did they consider lowering the speed limit from 35 to 30?
I'm sorry, Mr. Manches.
Did you consider in the study lowering the speed limit from 35 to 30?
Okay, that's usually a yes. We did consider that. And remember what I said earlier. In traffic engineering, the regulation, the guidelines by the state, the federal government, and the county, you set up vehicular speed based on the 85 percentile. When you have 85 percentile in the range of 40 to 45, if you go down to 30, what you're doing is encouraging the people to disobey the traffic, the sign. That's what's usually happening. We believe that with the reduction from 4 to 2 lanes, the concrete median in the middle, a narrow lane, and the bicycle lane will act as a deterrent for people to slow down. And with the addition of the psychological impact of the variable dynamic message, and having the cops go there every now and then, I believe that will be the better solution. However, what I was also going to recommend is that once these changes are implemented, to go back and revisit the area. Usually in traffic engineering, it's always recommended that when you implement study, you come back anywhere from 3 to 6 months after it's completed and reevaluate things again. And at that particular point in time, I think personally as a professional engineer, it will be appropriate to reconsider the 30 miles per hour.
Right, I understand. Thank you. We have any questions for the gentleman?
I do. Could you go back to your conclusions?
Sure.
The very last slide, I think, where you had all the conclusions listed, or the I'm sorry, recommendations.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so without the bottom one, continuing police enforcement, that's a given, and that's a big issue here, that we want to continue police enforcement, and our police are very active in doing that. Of the others, and I know you said they all work together,
right,
but which would you say would be the most feasible, effective in reducing the speed and the least costly? If we can't do them all, what would you say is you get the most bang for your dollar?
Probably, let's say if you don't want to raise the build the concrete raised median, you still have room for cars to pass over and speed. If you were to remove that, and it will probably save you not much. Maybe we did not do a detailed cost estimate. That's beyond the scope of the study. But my professional experience is that you're probably going to save between $130,000 to $180,000 in the concrete median. If you remove the concrete median, then my recommendation would be you then have to have almost 2 or 3 times police presence there with a radar gun. Because my experience in over 40 years experience as a traffic engineer, the only way, and then most cities don't have the luxury to have a lot of cops out there, on a regular basis because they are attending other things. So, again, I hope I answer your question.
The traffic median is the most expensive. I mean, would be the biggest one item that we'd add to it.
The one that will satisfy
But it's
the
probably
county standard, I believe, is 6 inches.
Mhm.
6 inches and per county standards. Yeah. Because if the city decides to construct this facility, you will have to have review and approval by Miami-Dade County.
Sure.
And then I know the manager asked you about looking at just reducing the speed, because everywhere else in our city, the speed limits are 30 on the major arteries and then 20 in the residential areas. So that stretch is the only one that just is inconsistent with the rest of Miami Springs.
Right.
So is there a way for us to reduce the speed limit? Because I know what you're saying, that probably they would still go 45, but I don't think that happens like, say, on Curtis Parkway where the speed limit is 30 and it's 2 lanes. People don't really usually go, above 45. So I think reducing the speed limit to 30 should be significant.
I think it will not. And one thing that I forgot to mention to the manager, and I apologize for that, in my review meetings with Miami-Dade County, Royal Poinciana, it's a county collector. County, with the exception of Curtis Parkway, county always like to, I'm speaking in general, of course, they always try to have the speed limit around 35. Another thing that I failed to mention to the manager is that for you to argue in favor of reducing the speed, you will have to have a significant amount of crashes that are directly attributed to speeding. And the city provided us with all the police report, and we did not find. I'm not saying that it cannot be done, but in justifying it to the county, the fact that the crash data is not significant, the fact that the 85 percentile speed is so high, the fact that this is a county major collector, it's not going to be easy. I mean, we can try. I mean, of course we can try, but my professional opinion, I don't think there is enough strong justification to go down to 30. But again, it's both are the wishes of the council. We can certainly try it.
So
and wish me a lot of luck.
So you're saying if we were to do alternative 2 or 3, that the speed limit would probably still remain 35? It's likely that the county would keep the speed limit at 35?
Yeah, most likely will.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, briefly. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Over here, sir.
My pleasure.
Oh.
Wait, sir.
I have one question for you.
I'm sorry.
It the echo. He's talking here.
Well, when you said thank you for presentation,
No, he's talking
hey,
over
now
here.
I can go have dinner.
And maybe a glass of wine downstairs. He's talking over here.
What?
This one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right here, sir. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just curious. Apparently a lot of work went into the study. At the end of the day, what would Alternative 2 and Alternative 3 do for us? Other than, obviously, the beautification aspect, but
Okay. Well,
there's not a traffic problem there, correct? I mean, there's a speeding problem.
There is a speeding problem, but the only way you can usually, unless you can have almost daily police presence there with a radar gun, just issuing citation left and right. Unless you do that, our professional experience throughout the nation in Miami-Dade County, when you implement what is called traffic calming alternative, they work very well in reducing the speed limits. So what is for the city? When you reduce the speed significantly, the traffic is going to be finding out that, hey, now we only have 1 lane instead of 2. They will think twice before diverting to Royal Poinciana.
I see what you're saying.
So that will be another benefit that the city will have.
Okay. Quite an expensive benefit.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I feel like I need more time to review this. I just got this, and I need more time to review it. But my question is, for example, where you say to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, now you have planting, I can't see the rest. Do we have to dig up the road? Is that what we have to do?
No. In this particular case, what you do is you need to mill. Mill is that you take out the existing pavement, and then of course where the median, the concrete median will go, you have to dig a little deeper, I'm sorry, so that you can pour the concrete over. It is not major construction. I mean, it's not as simple as just a resurfacing. It will involve more, but it's not that significant amount of work that will have to be. And then you got to realize that it's only, if I remember correctly, I measure now, I forgot, I apologize. It's only from Miller to Coolidge Drive, which approximately, oh God, I apologize, I'm sorry. It's probably 0.6 of a mile or something like that. I need to look at the numbers, but again, the bottom line is
0.7.
It's not significant amount of construction.
Okay.
But I remember at one time when we were discussing this with the county, they suggested doing painted medians instead of a regular, because the regular median is very expensive. And I think at one time Craven had come back and they threw out some figures, gave us some estimates. If we went with the painted medians, it would be about $300,000. If we went with medians all the way down to Coolidge, would be about $700,000.
The reason why, personally, based on my 40 years of experience, and I'm only 45, okay, I graduated very early, but my experience with painted median is that generally don't work. Because guess what? If you have a slow vehicle, the crazy nut behind the wheel is going to do that and drive through the painted median. That has been my experience. One way to correct that, if you decide to have a painted median, I would strongly recommend putting lollipops. All those are the tubular delineators. And the reason why I wouldn't recommend that, to be honest with you, first of all, it's a maintenance nightmare. Your public works director is not going to like that. It's a maintenance nightmare because even without, you see all over the county, people run over it. I mean, we know some teenagers that like to run over just for kicks, for fun. No, I'm serious. We have seen that. And the reason is that when they get hit, they bend over, and sometimes they create another safety hazard. So, I'll be honest with you, my professional recommendation is not to go with a painted median for the reason that I have just stated.
Could I ask another question, Mayor?
You can ask anything you want.
I think the big issue, or one of the major issues, other than the cost, of course, is reducing the speed. You're finding, if I'm understanding, you're saying that 85% of the drivers on South Royal Poinciana
The 85%, which means that when you collect the data, you got your traditional bell curve shape, okay? So usually what you have is right at the middle. If you have a very healthy bell-shaped curve, you have your mean and your average are being very, very close to one another. But then next to it, when you look, see, you never plan for the worst case because it's not practical. But when you have the bell shape, and then you go outside the middle where approximately 80% of the traffic flows, that's what you want to do. You never want to do anything on the statistical outlier. On the curb, there could be somebody, a slowpoke, that they are driving 50 miles per hour, but there was one crazy nut that particular day decided to go 60 miles
So
per hour.
what percentage of drivers or vehicles on that area are going in excess of, are going 45 or above?
Approximately 85%.
80, okay, so 85% are actually, that's just mind-boggling. I mean, that's so surprising. I know they're speeding, but that's a really substantial amount in excess of what we have the rest of the city is 30 miles an hour. So if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is that even putting in these alternative 2 or 3, doing either alternative, that we would still maintain a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit there, and what we'd be hoping for is that the distraction of the median in the middle or the narrowing of the lane would keep them from going, instead of 45, maybe 40, right? Because the speed limit's 35, so they're still going to speed, but perhaps instead of speeding 45, they'd speed 40.
Yeah, and absolutely. And then the other, like the gentleman said, the other advantage for the city will be that you will be substantially reducing the cut-through traffic.
But how can we bring it, or do you have any suggestions as to, because it seems to me like if we were to bring the speed limit down to 30, and there are people that are going to speed no matter what, but, you know, you speed a little bit over what, is there any way that we can bring that speed limit down to 30 to make it consistent with the rest of the city, that we can pursue? Anything that you can suggest that we can pursue? So that if they are speeding, they're probably speeding a little bit over 30 instead of a little bit
Well,
over 30.
Madam Councilwoman, remember what I said earlier. I mean,
Once he said, like he said, if we do the enactment of the one lane both ways, as the study goes, the performance of the 45 mile an hour would be reduced, which according to the way they calculate, I understand what you're saying, but the way they calculate, then it would be calculation that would warrant the county to allow us to put it to 30 miles an hour. That's what I'm saying.
right, and remember what I said earlier. This is a major county collector. There's no crash issue that pertains to speed. So you have everything, technically speaking, is pointing against not reducing the speed limit.
Right now.
Right now. However, what we always done, and we've done it with the city of Doral, Palmetto Bay, and some of the other cities, Miramar, is that once a particular study is completed, then after 3 to 6 months, when the traffic becomes normalized, then you go back, and then you're going to have strong evidence to say the county, well, look, we implemented road dieting, traffic calming. The project has been now for 3 to 6 months. We went out there, and we do still have significant speed limits. So we are going to recommend reducing to 30 miles. But right now, all the evidence, and Mr. City Attorney can tell, the preponderance of the evidence right now, as they say in court, and I've been there many times, the preponderance of the evidence right now is that it's not going to justify going down to 30. But there's still time after you implement.
Right. So in other words, if the average speed reduces, it will justify the county to go ahead. Right now, because the feeling is, the study shows they actually go over the speed limit more than they're supposed to. They can't, and I don't know how it's calculated, but I understand what they're calculating. They're saying it's got to stay at 35. I got a question.
Sir.
What does the medium, reducing it to the one lane going both ways, one lane,
Right.
how wide's the medium going to be?
According to the table, let me get back to the graphic, it's 12 feet.
12 feet?
12 feet,
So
yeah.
there's going to be 12 feet in the middle of the road?
Right.
12 feet.
And that's a good, solid deterrent barrier, believe me.
And then 12 feet, that means that the concrete that you're talking about, the little concrete wall, whatever you want to call it, that'll go around, which will allow us to, in the middle of that medium, to do plantings and so on?
You can design it that way. Absolutely, you can design it that way, of course.
Okay. But it's going to be 12 feet in the middle?
Still 12 feet. In that case, what you do is you have the type F, or the barrier, just not the type F, or just a single barrier curb, according to the standard, 4 inches or 3 inches, and then you have that all around, and then in the middle you compact the sub base, put a base, and then put earth, and then you have to have a irrigation system.
I understand. I got it.
So
I'm just
the
thinking
answer is
outside.
yes.
This stuff just going to be 12 feet in there.
Usually the way, and I'm sure you're very familiar, the first step is to do the study. We've done that.
Right.
If the council decides to accept the recommendation now, the next step is whatever provisos you put on
The designs.
on the action.
The
next
architectural design of what we want to put, one lane.
Exactly. The designer consulting firm, we need to make sure that they follow the wishes of this council.
Now let me ask you a question. In the alternative lane east, your estimation, the 2 lanes coming to the middle and 1 lane to the east. That way, side is the in your professional difference versus what we lose versus one lane both ways?
One of the main reasons direction. Only lane going southeast bound is a traffic calming, and you want to have that next to where most of the single family
Right,
homes are.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So that's basically, but the reason is that we do not recommend alter number 2 is because if you notice, it doesn't have a concrete median.
Why couldn't you put, why could you not put a medium in between?
Excellent question. We look into that. You have to widen the roadway. And then you're talking about mega
Why
bucks.
would we have to widen roadway when you're telling me with 2 lanes I have 12 feet to play with?
Because if you wanted to implement the concrete median with the 2 lanes, alternate number 2, if you wanted to have the 2-lane northwest bound with a concrete median, the concrete median is 12 feet. So you would have to widen the roadway to be able to maintain.
You mean the medium has to be 12 feet?
It has to be 12 feet.
It can't be 6 feet?
Well, we don't recommend that in preliminary discussion with the county. They actually prefer to have at least 12 feet because that is what provides
All right,
the
so
most.
that what you're saying to me, and the idea I have is because the county stipulates you have to have a 12-foot median between the 2 roads because you have plenty of room to put a medium with 2 lanes coming from the east to the west. Them 2 lanes are already there, and I have 2 lanes on this side. I'm going to cancel one of them and put a medium in between them.
Perhaps
That's
there's
not
an
12 feet.
I'll show you. There's an old Chinese proverb that says a picture
I'm not
is
Chinese.
worth 1,000 words. Okay, you see with alternate number 2, what you see is you have 2 lanes going north.
Poinciano's on the top, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the 2 lanes on the top. Those are 11 feet. Below you have a lane that are 11 feet, but then immediately you have the grass and the sidewalk. If you were to install a 12-foot concrete median between the two lanes northwest bound and the one southeast bound, you can see that you don't have enough room because it will basically wipe out the lane going southeast bound, and then you have to widen considerably, basically destroying the grass median and the sidewalk.
You're talking
And
one
that-
median, right? But he's only talking 1 median, not 2, right?
Okay, in this particular alternative, if what I'm saying is, in this particular alternative, if you were to construct the concrete median like the mayor asked, what I'm saying is that you don't have the room. You will have to widen to the south and completely destroy the existing sidewalk and the grass median.
But I guess what he's saying,
But I don't
we have
understand. I
4
have
lanes now.
2 lanes there
So
already.
what's happening is that you're losing one of the lanes because of the bike lane that he's putting up
The
there.
bike lane.
That's what's happening.
What is the, I'm sorry.
No, I was just, it's not working out the way.
bike lane's- the bike lane's
Just
6
last
foot,
question. I'm sure that the opinion is the 1 lane, both either way. What I was thinking is, because we could take the stress away from the resident having the 1 lane going to the east, but ain't gonna work out the way I want. Would this be a cheaper way to go? Would the 2 lane and 1 lane, is that cheaper?
No, sir.
It would be even cheaper.
No, the safer way to go will be alter number 3. If you want to reduce the
understand.
speed limit and introduce traffic calming measures.
Okay. I'm satisfied with the answers.
Yeah, excuse me, through the chair, I'm just trying to put this right in my head here. The alternate number 2, was it part of your study that the 2 lanes going to the northwest versus the one going to the southeast was purposely done that way to accommodate the apartment buildings and the density and population along there?
No, sir. When you look at the traffic data, the predominant flow is northwest bound. So that's one of the reasons why when we were discussing the different alternatives, we said 2 lanes under alternative number 2 will provide better flow because most of the traffic is northwest bound.
So, because of the flow, okay.
But that's one of the reasons why we are not recommending alter number 2 because we don't believe that it will achieve the goal that the city indicated earlier.
Okay.
I have one other question,
Wait,
Mayor.
I want to say something. I still can't get this out of my head. We have 4 lanes up there now.
3.
Yes, sir.
Right now, there's 3 lanes, but you had 4 lanes. And they averaged 9 foot across, 10 foot. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the 2 lanes that are gonna be heading westbound, how wide are them 2 lanes gonna be?
On their existing condition? Oh,
In alternate 2.
11 feet.
Is that because 11 feet, because that's the standard, the new standard in the roads, or it has to be, can't be 10 feet?
If I don't recommend 10 feet when you have it.
I wanna know what the law says.
No, you can have 10-foot lanes. But the reason why we don't recommend it is because since you have.
You can have 10-foot lanes.
Yeah, but when you have a bicycle path on your right and a concrete median on the left, you want to give a little bit better buffer to the vehicle. When you have a 10-foot lane, that's kind of tight. And when you have bicycles on your right and a concrete median on the left, you want to have an 11-foot lane, believe me. That's my professional opinion.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right, go ahead.
I have, along the top, you have the bike lane, just at the top of the, right?
Yeah.
And it's along the canal bank. But what is that symbol at the bottom of the eastbound lane that it looks like a
Okay.
bike symbol also? What is that?
When you have, that is what required by the county and by the state.
So in essence, we'd also have a bike lane on the
Shared, right.
east.
You don't have a bike
bound.
lane, madam. You
And a
have
separate
you have a
shared lane.
vehicle,
What is it?
Right.
and that's been implemented all over the county.
Okay.
But if you do that, you have to have the, okay, you have to have the, that payment marking that's called a charo, and with the sign that you see at the bottom, the R4-1. And you have to have that throughout the entire lane.
4 lanes.
So if someone is
40 feet.
going eastbound on that one lane, and we have one lane, and that's painted as a bike lane, is that one of those, like I know there's certain roads in the county where it says the biker has, I forget what the wording is, but the biker has the right to the lane, and the cars have to go behind the biker? On that southbound lane, that would be the case.
That'll be the case. And but on the other hand, the bicycle, we counted very, very little bicycle along Royal Poinciana, only at near the school. So it's not that you're going to have continuous amount of bicycles there. Okay, so you may run into a bicycle every now and then of course you have to slow down. But on the other hand, if the bicycle is going extremely low, you could always have the option of making a right turn at Lee Drive, Miller, Sheridan, Forest,
Okay. All right, I guess thank you.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Questions for him? Okay, I guess now the next procedure is which alternative we want to do. And if we want to go ahead to alternative 3, I guess the next step is to go for design. Is that what it be, the design? And
Well,
then
the next-
to go approval for how much?
If you decide on which alternate, then I'd have to go out and price these out.
Okay.
I think what we should do is get prices on alternative 2 and 3.
Yes.
Right.
And come back to you and tell you, this is how much it's gonna cost and where the funding will come from.
All right.
I think that's.
Do I have a
Yeah.
motion to pursue it that way?
Yeah.
Motion to
Consensus,
pursue.
Absolutely.
Consensus to do it?
Yes.
All right. See what the prices come back on. This will be official prices. This will be official,
Well,
no estimated prices, but officially what it's gonna cost.
Well, we won't get that until we do an RFP and go out for pricing on RFP. What they offer is they can tell you, estimate based on their professional experience, how much each alternative is gonna cost, ballpark.
Okay. Within 99% of what it would cost? What you think?
Rough on?
95% of, 99% of what it would cost, you can estimate?
Mayor, I really don't want to get into that territory. What I would say extremely rough according to that, like Mr. Manager said,
All right,
we have to go through a formal estimating process.
right. Do we want to go through a formal estimated a formal process, not an estimated process? 'Cause I've been through this before. I mean, you want to go a formal process of how much it's gonna cost?
Mayor, the only problem is you won't have the road designed, so you won't be able to get.
All right, well, I'm trying to get in the steps of what we want to do here. Now, do we want to go and put it in design form and then go
To the RFP?
then go through the RFP?
That would seem to me to be the way to
The
go.
most logical.
You can get construction
2 and
estimates
3.
based on general specifications of what the requirements are. And then you can make a decision on how to move forward based on that, but you won't get accurate proposals without a design cost.
All right, I'm gonna propose that we get the most, the preliminary, most accurate situation we have for, do you guys wanna do both? 1, 3, 2 and 3? 2 and 3 or just 3?
3.
Just 3?
3.
Councilman, 3?
3.
3?
I'm okay with either way. I mean, I tend to think it should
I,
be less what you're saying, but
You think we should do both?
no, I mean, the professional is saying it's not gonna be much difference in price, so
Okay, so
obviously the other one's better.
3? All right, we're gonna go for 3. Get the best quotation or estimate of what's gonna be before we go on to,
You know, I think
Maybe
3 really addresses all of the concerns that we had and the concerns that were brought up, really. Although we don't understand it right now and we need to look at the cost, but I think 3, in terms of deterring, cut through traffic and then calming, all of those things are addressed.
Yeah.
So,
I got you.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna
Is
go
it,
with 3.
is it, well, I'm just gonna suggest here, I happen to agree with Councilman Petrolanda, or Vice Mayor Petrolanda. We have only had the benefit of looking at this for the last 30 minutes. Are we jumping the hoop here by going for this early, or should we review this perhaps until we meet again? And then offer
Look,
something.
I'm asking whatever the council needs to do.
No, sir,
to
I
be
understand.
to confident.
I am simply
As far as
offering-
I'm concerned, I'm confident because I guess the only question I have in this situation
No.
is I don't understand,
Right, I get that. That's kind of what I'm saying in
yeah,
a way.
I still think the option of in the cost effective and everything like that, there's gotta be a better, in my mind, an option. I'm trying to get this done.
Exactly.
It's
Is
gonna
what
be
I'm.
a lot of money, but like Councilman Mitchell said, it's not gonna be much difference with the 2 lanes versus 1 and 1.
We might come back the next time we meet, and somebody might come up with a completely different idea that would fly.
Somebody who?
We've had 30 minutes to
Somebody
and
who?
we're moving forward on something? To me,
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
Not me, because I am not, we've,
We're not
the city
qualified.
has spent money on this study because we needed someone who knew what they were reviewing.
I like
None
to
of us
look at it.
here are qualified to really review and say anything different than what the gentleman has said. So I'm perfectly comfortable with what the mayor has suggested.
And I think, Councilman Best, the issue is, we're all aware that, that's an issue in that area of the Springs, that the speed limit is different, that they're speeding even more now. We find out much more than we even suspected. So it's not a new problem.
Well, and we're surprised at the speeding, but I'm sure the people that live right there are not. I'm sure that they were
They
like,
come
yeah.
and told us that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they
no.
did.
Well, that's the
That's
the
why we're
key to
here.
this, and then perhaps to do something to embellish the area
All right, we're
at the
gonna
same
go with
time.
our first recommendation. If there's any other questions, Councilman, you can, I mean, I don't even know if we're gonna have the final answer by next meeting. If there's any other, you can keep abreast of what's going on with the manager. And if there's anything that you guys come up with that you might wanna talk about it, you can. But I think we gotta pursue it. We
Okay,
gotta
that's
make
fair.
a decision.
That's fair enough. I mean,
Okay.
I've looked at 2 scenarios here, and it just, to me, it seems we're pushing the cart before the
Well,
horse.
I don't know, it's been a
All right.
long time.
No.
Okay.
All right, we got it? You got what you gotta do? Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
have dinner.
Did you wanna say
Frijoles.
anything?
It's just gonna take 20 seconds.
I bet you.
Someone was saying that, there's not that many crashes, but just recently
That's
there
okay.
was
Okay.
there was just recently somebody whose pet got ran over because they were running in that street. And yes, speed does kill, and I do am for lowering the speed to 30 no matter what anyone else has said. This is our city, and we should stand for lowering the speed to 30.
So you understand something. It's got to be stated. We tried to lower the speed limit to 30. The county would not allow us to do it. So it's a county road. So the emphasis of her is, I understand her position. The fact that's not being stated here is that your council and management pursued with the county to lower it to 30, and they wouldn't allow us to do it. That's I can only tell you that.
Thank you so much.
Her husband, sorry, one thing. I just hope that, I know that money is always an issue, but what she was gonna bring up is somebody just lost their dog ahead on that road. And she put that the dog flew 30 yards after they hit it. So I hope like we don't wait for something really bad to happen for people to say, oh, let's change this. Let's make it as safe as possible. Because, you know, like nobody wants to see that. And it is a very, we live right on that street. And the reason why that speed is so excessive, because that feels like a racetrack. I mean, that's 4 open lanes, no medians in the middle, so, yeah, I mean, we see it every day. And that's
Thank
what
you
we're
so
here.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
you.
You want to do the other one?
You're welcome to talk. It's an open forum.
The fee, the other one.
Well, it was an open forum, but you're welcome to talk.
Two things that has not been mentioned here about going to one lane each way. One thing is there's no passing when it's one lane and a median. That slows the traffic down. If the slowest person is going 30 miles an hour, everybody in back of him is going 30 miles an hour. And the other thing is that if they're going 45 at Forest Drive, when they get 2 blocks farther down the road, they're going 55.
That's right. Thank you.
That's simple.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
We're trying. We're on our way here, baby.
Could I say something real quick?
Sure.
Sorry about that. My name's Tony Silva. I live in Miami Springs most of my life, and I'm there every day at Stafford Park with the kids. I coach there Monday through Thursday, and I want to give the city the props because they have a guy on each drive now as a police officer watching traffic, because there are people that go 40 to 50 miles an hour down that street. Same thing with Royal Ponciana. You got the middle school there, you got a park there. There's a lot of kids that ride their bikes, go across the street, down those streets. And this is something that I think that'll be great. It'll make the city look nicer. There's already bumper to bumper traffic on each drive. You know, a lot of people cutting through the Springs, you know. But safety of the kids is, to me, because I'm there all the time, is probably the most important thing.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else? Okie dokie. Can we take 5 minutes? 5-minute recess? Okay. 5 minutes. A resolution for fees.
Mayor and council, this is the companion item to the special event ordinance. It's a resolution establishing a fee for outdoor events. This came as recommended by staff. They've been working on it for some time. Application fee for non-residents is 25, late fees 100. Then you have a series of rental fees and police fees. Deposit, you'll see that in section 2 of the resolution. If you have any questions, I think you could probably direct it to Tammy.
I have a question. These fees, do we have fees now?
We do
Yes,
have
we do.
fees.
Are we
do have
increasing
fees.
them or we're keeping them about the same?
We are increasing them.
By what percentage?
I don't know the percentage.
Because I
but
read
we
it
went-
and I only see the current, the ones that you're proposing. I don't see the old ones. At least I didn't see them on. All I need to know is, what I'm asking is, are we increasing them? Now, we can wait any time, right? Okay.
The special event request for applications will come before all of you, and it's not going to be uncommon for someone to say, you know, we want to close time to serve alcohol, like a waiver of fees, and that'll be for you to consider.
Okay, and
Easy use example.
let me ask a dumb question. So, one for office, sir, that doesn't
Just to this.
It's a
Or police
Have to pay direct
to the police,
the
right?
officer.
and point fits are way.
That's what I was asking.
Right.
So, don't you see that is free for,
It says application fee, non-residents,
yeah, but
$25.
don't you maybe put, state it, late fees for a scheduled less than 30 days,
So
$100,
that was a change
explain
as
that.
well. That was a change as well because we were getting in applications a week or two. And because of that, you know, go through the process through all the departments to get approval. So and it,
That-
to the would be
Resident. Easy hours, $750, $50.
we went from 500 to the $700 charge. So that was an increase there because we did a study of other events and application events throughout other municipalities, and we found that we were very low.
Very low.
In our
I believe
costs.
your penalty fee every additional hour is too low. I think that 150 is too low. Consider that. Nobody wants to consider that, but
What do you suggest?
I believe that I believe both fees are too low.
What would you think is?
I think that to rent the circle, I would change it. I would change it to rent the circle for 4 hours at $1,000, and I would have the penalty fee $250. So it's an inducement of getting out of there for the 4 hours. That's my suggestion. Curtis Parkway driveway, 3-hour minimum, 300. And where's Curtis Parkway? What are you talking about?
So in other words, along where like the
Farmers
farmer's market
Okay.
is, that would be considered Curtis Parkway.
All right, how often does the circle get rented?
We have weddings, don't we?
We do have occasional weddings.
And that's why we put the 3 minimum, 750, because usually for a wedding, they don't need it for 4 hours.
Yeah.
They'll probably need it for 2 hours, but
Just to have
we're
their
charging a
ceremony
3-hour
and then,
minimum.
yeah.
Now, how about Curtis Parkway? How often are we using that? Besides,
We use that for several events,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, but private events that pay. I mean, you're not charging a farmer's market, are you?
But I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would be from Curtis
Police
Parkway.
fee, that's $50. That's just standard by the police department. All right. We need a motion to
The
approve this.
This would apply for like movie night, let's
Yeah.
say if we wanted to charge for the movie night, then we would charge for the application fee. I mean, and
Yeah.
again, that's always at the discretion of council.
The
to waive that.
$25 still applies to all of the different things. Non-resident, $25.
Yes.
motion to approve, or what? Do I get a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we go to, where are we at here? That was feet,
11B. This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs providing for the First Amendment to the fiscal year 2018-19 General Fund and Special Revenue and Capital Projects Fund budgets by reappropriating reserved fund balance to fund open encumbrances through September 30th, 2018, and providing for an effective date. As Mayor and Council know, every year we do this to bring over the open purchase orders that we had at the end of the fiscal year and bring them over into 2019.
how much left over do we have after paying everything off? What went into the general fund?
Oh, we don't know that yet. This is, we're still working on the books. So this is just the open encumbrances, the purchase orders.
Okay.
That stuff that was ordered but hadn't been received by September
I got you.
30th.
So you need a motion to approve this?
Yes.
Motion to move, sir.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. We go to 11C.
Let me see, this is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, awarding request for proposal 06-17/18, equipment capital lease financing to Bank of America National Association, authorizing the lease purchase financing of the acquisition of certain equipment, including golf course equipment, 14 fully equipped police vehicles, and police and public safety related computer hardware and software, approving the form of and authorizing the city manager to negotiate, execute, and deliver a master equipment lease purchase agreement with Bank of America National Association as lessor, and any separate lease schedules attached thereto, authorizing the execution and delivery of other documents required in connection therewith, providing for implementation, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is the lease that we discussed during the budget. You also have in your packet a memo from Tammy Key, Professional Services Specialist, detailing the, maybe I should just read into the record. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Recommendation by Finance Professional Services that council award RFP 06-1718 to Bank of America Public Capital Corp., the lowest responsible bidder, and authorize the execution of an agreement lease attached in the amount of not to exceed $1,470,472 at a fixed rate of 3.0812 for an agreement lease term for 5 years for the purchase of golf course equipment, approximately $625,000, 14 fully equipped police vehicles, approximately $572,830, and police software and hardware with Superion, approximately $272,640, pursuant to Section 3111 E1 of the City Code. On September 14, 2018, the city advertised a request for proposal for equipment capital lease financing. 25 banks or financial institutions were provided the RFP document in which they could respond to funding a 5-year loan for police vehicles, software and hardware, and the golf course equipment. The city received 5 responses attached from the following banks: BB&T, Bank of America, Public Capital Corp., SunTrust, PNC Bank, and Iberia Bank. And then we broke down the interest rates, the fixed variable rates, and the prepayment penalties for each of the banks. And in reviewing the 5 responses received, some key points that we were considered were the percentage rates, whether they were fixed or variable, and if there were prepayment penalties. Bank of America Public Capital Corp. Had the lowest fixed percentage rate of 3.0812 and did not have any prepayment penalties.
Okay. Very good. Motion.
Through the chair, motion to move it.
Second.
Call a vote, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes.
Okay, now that we have the lease, we go to 11D is a recommendation by Police Department that council approve an expenditure to Superion as a sole source provider in the amount of $272,640 for new police software support and maintenance as funds were approved in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111 E6C of the city code.
Okay, to entertain a motion?
Motion to move, Mayor.
Second?
Second.
Call the vote.
Did you second it, or you wanted me to second?
I'm looking for somebody to do their job and let's go here. I need
Second.
first and second.
You
Call
got
a
it.
vote. Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolando?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes, we go to E.
E,
This is the
recommendation by golf that council authorize the issuance and execution of a purchase order to Hector Turf utilizing a cooperative purchase with National IPA under contract number 2017025, which is attached, in an amount not to exceed $624,696.14, financed over a 5-year period through, and that should not be SunTrust, that should be Bank of America.
Yep.
For maintenance equipment at the golf course, as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111E5 of the city code.
Motion to approve 11E.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolando?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes, I'd like to move one, I'd like to, would council allow me to go, since he's sitting here, 12C, Stafford Concession Stand Operation.
Yes, Mayor and Council. The concession stand at Stafford Park has been operated for the last 10 years by Esteban Gomez, a local resident, under an agreement he signed with the city back in February of 2008, which I attached to your packet. Esteban has indicated to us that he can no longer operate the stand due to the poor health of his parents and needing to spend more time at home caring for them. Esteban and Omar Luna spoke to Tony Silva from the Optimist Club regarding the possibility of the Optimist running the stand on an interim basis while the city prepares an RFP to see if there are any other interested parties in taking over this operation. The Optimist Club indicated that they would be interested. This interim agreement would ensure that the concession stand keeps operating in order to service the various sports groups and residents that use the park. At this time, we will request council approval of this interim agreement until such time as the RFP process is complete. I know Mr. Silva and Omar are here, and I know Mr. Silva wanted to say a few words.
Hello, Tony Silva with Miami Springs Optimist Club, and a resident of Miami Springs. Esteban came up to me at the field about 3 or 4 weeks ago and asked me, "Hey, Tony, you guys want to take over concession stand?" I go, "Well, we have to ask the city," and of course we would love to do it because what we do, we get the kids involved, sell beverages and all that, and we use it for other fees, soccer tournaments. We're always raising money for the kids, so that helps these kids and it lets the kids get involved as well. It's not just give them stuff. You want the kids to learn how to work for it. You know, in life you got to teach these kids it's not about just sports. It's about certain values, how to work hard, get something in return. So, you know, I've always tried to teach the kids in the programs that. I've been doing it for 20-some years, and thank God we've been lucky. We have a great city here, and the city's always been good to us. And I think it'll be a great thing for the kids, you know.
All right, so this is, do you need approval to set up the logistics with him? Or you need approval for them to have it?
We need approval so that Omar and I can come up with, and we'll work with Dan on coming up with an interim agreement for them to.
That's what I mean, so you're, okay. Do I have a motion to?
Mayor, I have a motion to move item, what is it, 12A, 12C.
C.
I'll second that.
Okay, I was just wondering, is this something you guys want to do permanent, or is this something you want to do just temporary? Because
We want to have it permanently because we're there every day anyways, you know.
is that something do we have a problem?
Well, I think that the situation with the manager wants to put out for bid and everything, that they could bid.
Right.
That's fine with us too.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we're helping the kids.
Exactly, that's why.
See how it works out for them too. You know, as he is a gung-ho person, God bless him, he still needs volunteers to help him run this place.
Yes.
It's a lot of work.
Let's see how his participation is because maybe in a month he'd come back here and say you can't do it, so. All right, I got a motion to go first and second.
You
Call
gotta
the
say-
vote.
Yes, sir.
Call-
No.
I got.
You got it.
He had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Good luck, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, we did E. We're on F.
F, yep.
Thanks for letting me come up. Thank you, Omar.
This is a recommendation by Public Works that council approve an extension of the contract with SFM Services for an additional one-year period in the amount of $28,080 for street sweeping services as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111 E6G of the city code and pursuant to the city's existing contract.
Do I get a motion?
Motion to approve 11F
Second.
is read.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Petrolano.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. G.
We have a recommendation by Recreation that council approve an extension of the field maintenance contract with Ballpark Maintenance for an additional one-year period in the amount of $172,000 as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 3111 E6C of the city code and pursuant to the city's existing contract.
Motion to move item 11G.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolando.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. H.
Recommendation by Information Technology that council approve an extension of contract MIAS 187-9LG-130482-1 with SunGuard Public Sector, Inc. for an additional one-year period and an amount of $122,909 for off-site ASP hosting for the usage of SunGuard HTE software as funds were approved in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to section 31.11 E6G of the city code and pursuant to the city's existing contract.
Through the chair, motion to move.
Second.
That was Maria.
Mhm.
Sorry. Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolando.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we go to I, consideration of Park and Parkways recommendation for nominating the Yard of the Month award for November and December. Do everybody agree with them homes?
Yeah.
I thought
Yes.
December needed a little more tree on the left, but it's okay. Call a vote, please. Do I get a motion?
Motion to move.
Second.
Vice Mayor Petrolando.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we want to move another one up real quick. Is the 12D, the Miami Foundation, no, wait.
12E.
Approval of Sebastian Strong 5K race Saturday, November 10th. Somebody here for that to speak? I wish I'd have known earlier. Thanks, we'd have done that right after.
I was just told by Anna that I should be here by Anna Hume, so
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, Anna left early.
We did it last year and it was fantastic, so we're excited to do it here again.
All right,
Motion to move.
Second.
Accept.
call the vote.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have.
It's okay. Thank you so much.
I need help sometimes up here.
Congratulations on the participation last year. That was
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
I need help up here sometimes, and they're a little slow tonight.
It's okay, thank you.
You could have given that to me a long time ago, you know that.
She
All right,
slipped,
we
she
go
slipped.
to, okay, we did I. Now we go to 12A about the paint collection.
At the request of Mayor Billy Bain, he has asked us to look into the possibility of initiating a community paint collection day similar to our community shred day to offer residents the ability of getting rid of their accumulated household paints. We reached out to Jean Massa, recycling manager of Miami-Dade County Solid Waste Management Department, Public Information and Outreach Division, and she explained if the city were to take possession of any paints, we would be considered a transporter of hazardous waste, which would require a special accreditation or license for handling and processing of these materials. Although latex paint is not hazardous, oil-based paints are, and therefore would require this special license. We also were in communication with Yanet Rodriguez, Environmental Resources Project Supervisor for Miami-Dade County Solid Waste, which has told me that they will not allow cities to drop off any paints at their Miami-Dade landfill. However, residents themselves were able to dispose of unwanted paint at the Home Chemical Collection Center free of charge. This facility is also allows for disposal of electronics, home chemicals, and batteries. It is located in Doral at 8801 Northwest 58th Street. They are open Wednesday through to Sunday for all residents of Miami-Dade County, and their hours of operation are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Since the Home Chemical Collection Center will not accept drop-offs by the city, and we are required to obtain a license for handling, the only way to provide these services to our residents would be to hire a private company and to collect and dispose of these items. We reached out to all 7 of the companies listed on the Miami-Dade County Hazardous and Non-Hazardous Waste Services contract, and it seems as though none of them can offer the services to municipalities because they have outright told us no or simply do not respond to our calls. We also reached out to another possible lead provided by the town of Bay Harbor Island, who I was told was trying to implement the same program. However, after months of research, Yanelkis Palacio Ruiz, administrative assistant for the Public Works Department, informed me that they decided not to implement the program due to lack of interest. Through the town of Bay Harbor Island, I was also given names of 2 other firms from the town of Surfside. They offer their residents a once a year in May before the hurricane season hazardous waste collection day with the contracted vendor US Ecology. This is their 3rd year offering the services. The event is scheduled on a weekday for approximately 5 hours from noon to 5, which allows residents to dispose of oil, pesticides, paints, etc. We reached out to Tyler of US Ecology on August 13th, and after several attempts of reaching out to them, we are still waiting for them to provide us with a quote. We also reached out to Rapid Waste Environmental Services, Kurt DeBrunner, and they provided us with a quote of $4,261 for a one-time collection. See quote attached. Due to the cost, please advise if you would like us to proceed with offering this type of collection service to our residents.
I put it on the agenda just so that people could, of course, it won't get out because nobody's going to report this, but this is to put on the agenda that how it is in the county or whatever it is that you can't even help the environment out because of the regulations that we have and differences we have. Now, you can't have anybody transport the paint to the place, but you as a resident can do it who aren't professional at all. So I just wanted to bring it up. I have no inclination to do this unless I'm not going to spend for it, because if you spend $4,000, you're going to have to put out, you're going to have a sign-up sheet and know that people are going to come and do it, because if it's not like the shredding situation where so just want to let you all know the things that we try to do in this town that you can't do.
I think it was a great idea. It's too bad.
This came up from about 6 or 7 residents that were trying to be, so I guess the best thing to do is just get your paint and put it in your garbage can. I mean, that's what they're telling you.
No, actually, I was there last month, and I've done it several times. I take, when we clean out our garage, the stuff. But I just wanted to mention, it's not that difficult. It's really very easy to get there, and the place is open. You pull up, and they just pull out a cart, and they collect. They also collect the electronic waste, like Tammy said. But perhaps what we could do, Mayor, is, because I think it was a really good idea that you had, even though we can't collect it here, is just provide the information for our residents on our website as to how to dispose of,
I said that's what that was my secondary to do, but bottom line is, this was to help residents that homes don't have,
the
I think
inclination to do it.
don't have the wherewithal to get there, because not because it's not hard to get there, it's that physically and age and different things don't have to get there. So they thought for their own little community, if they could help them.
You weren't far off when you said throw it in the garbage. If you let the paint dry,
you could throw it
gets hot, you can throw it in the garbage.
You can throw it in the garbage, but if there left in it. I don't recommend throwing it in the garbage because I don't think Tom would appreciate that.
Well, I don't know,
And dust all
when
over
it
the
spills
truck.
out, I've never done this before, so I don't know for
Sure.
sure. But when it spills out in your can, it gives it an extra support layer so that
No, but
because my can is gray inside, but for some reason it's gray, but everything else is blue.
So you've done.
What they did recommend to me is to open up the cans and pour cat litter, kitty litter. It'll absorb it all and then you can throw it out.
Okay. All right. Anyway, maybe we can come. Maybe someday we'll be together. All right. This is the discussion for the bridge.
12B.
The pedestrian bridge. This is 12B.
Yes,
For Okeechobee Metro Rail.
This is a request by Councilwoman Mitchell to discuss the feasibility study for a pedestrian bridge at the Okeechobee Metro Rail Station. The Florida Department of Revenue performed a feasibility study for a pedestrian bridge at the
Thank you.
at the Okeechobee Metro Rail Station last month. Attached is the final draft of this study, which shows on page 12 that the cost of building this bridge would be $1,135,090. Councilwoman Mitchell requested that we put this on the agenda so that council may discuss it and get council consensus to explore funding opportunities from the county to help pay for this project.
Go for it.
And thank you. I would like to distribute to each of you. These are pictures of that I've taken. We need more of people. Right now, the issue is we can see the Metro Rail station right there. It's adjacent to our facility, to our city, but we can't safely access it unless you go by car. But what really happens unless you drive into Hialeah, through Medley into Hialeah and park your car there at the Okeechobee station, pay $5 a day. What's happening though, and it's been happening for years, is people use the FEC tracks and cross, and you can see by these photos that I've taken, these are just occasionally. Any time of any day that you go out there and you sit there long enough, you will see people crossing the FEC tracks to get back and forth to the Metro Rail station because it's the easiest way to go on foot. And in the afternoons, very often high school kids that are at magnet schools, they get free transportation on Metro Rail, and they will ride Metro Rail to Okeechobee Station, and I've seen them cross the FEC tracks, and then their parents come and pick them up on this side of the station. So for a while now, I've been looking into the possibility of a pedestrian footbridge alongside the FEC tracks so that you could, at the end of our Ludlam bike path, if you wanted to, you could walk across to the station. And Councilman Petrolanda, I know you've done wonders with getting a shuttle to the Hialeah station, and that's great for people who want to take the shuttle, but it's a very time-consuming process. Most of us wouldn't be able to do that, whereas it's conceivable, that we could walk across or get dropped off there at the corner, and you walk across and catch Metro Rail to go to an American Airlines arena or whatever. I didn't bring it to the council before because I wanted to find out if this was even a possibility. And I think it's really promising what we found out. FDOT did a free feasibility study for us at no cost to look at this. And right now there's a lot of attention, a lot of funding out there for what's called first mile, last mile connectivity, which means that there are a lot of people who all they need is that easy access to mass transit. But in our case in particular, we're a mile, not less than a mile, and yet we'd have to get in a car and drive over there and park a car. So there's a lot of funding and attention for mass transit to fund that first mile, last mile segments, which this would apply. And after we had the feasibility study done by FDOT, which I had no idea how much this would cost. I'm not saying $1 million isn't a great deal of money, but we found out that there's CITT funds, totally separate funds that are available for this first mile, last mile that we could apply for and possibly get for this project, and they would not be available otherwise. Plus, there's a whole bunch of other funding opportunities to fund this. So I don't see it as something we would have to come up with. I really think Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works has funding for these kind of projects. So what I'm asking here is that with the council's approval, to allow the city staff to pursue the availability of funding for this. It doesn't commit us to the project. We're just exploring the possibility of having this as an added opportunity for our residents to get to and from Metrorail.
Mayor, may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
You sure?
Sure.
It sounded like you wanted to say something first.
No, not at all.
Okay. Now, a couple of things. I went there on Sunday, and I drove to the other side, to the metro station side. And I see you took this picture from Miami Springs side. You didn't go here where this metal part is, right?
Yeah, I have. And you actually, when you get there, it opens up because you have to cross the FEC track.
Right, but that's
So
not the
there's an
point
opening
that
in
I'm
the-
making. It's really sad what's going on there. Think of your home without walls. People are living under the path.
It's been going on for years, sir.
Right, but I mean, I took some pictures. I couldn't. They have a table, a dinner table, a couch, a bed. It's like a home.
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
The police generally allow that for a month or so, and then they chase them all out. And then
It's just sad to see it.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I can't believe that when they did this, they didn't consider a path next to it.
Actually, I asked Jim Boardman about that a long time ago, because this has been on my radar for a long time, and he said they just looked at this, and that was. But back then too, I don't think there was as much attention as with the SMART plan and all of really trying to facilitate of getting us. In my example, when I worked downtown with the county, every day I could have. I'm close enough that I would walk to the Metro Rail station. If I could cross that pedestrian bridge. I'm not going to go on the FEC tracks, but instead I would get in my car. Well, I'm not going to drive to Okeechobee to park my car to then take the train. Once I'm in my car, I might as well drive all the way downtown. But if I wasn't driving downtown, there would be less traffic at the circle through Miami Springs because you wouldn't have my vehicle congesting. So I think this is a really viable, I think it's exciting, and that it's so reasonable. The price tag, in relatively speaking, makes it more likely that we can get funding for it.
I just wanted to make another suggestion. We're looking at $1.2 million, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I was there. If you go about 50 yards this way here, okay, you have, I think it's Northwest 19th Street. Hold on, give me a second. I have it here. Yes, Northwest 19th Street. It's like maybe 10 yards from the entrance to this. You can cross there, okay, on the other side of Okeechobee, and then just have the bridge over the river, like we have over here in Sabor, that area there in Hialeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Have
An
that.
attractive
It's going to be a lot
pedestrian
cheaper
bridge.
than crossing that through Okeechobee all the way into the other side. That might be a cheaper way of going.
And they
then-
are, Councilman, this would, from FDOT, Elizabeth Stacy with FDOT Bicycle Pedestrian Division, said this is just an initial idea of where it would be. They would look at it further. They're willing to look a lot further into the possibilities. What I think is really particularly exciting about this is it's not like an unsightly pedestrian bridge like we have at the high school that goes up. This is at grade level
Right, but it
along
would
the
be
FEC
cheaper
tracks.
because you're not crossing Okeechobee.
Right.
You're walking across Okeechobee. There's already a pedestrian crosswalk. There's a light there. It's only 10 yards away. And you cross to the other side, and then you just get and then you'll have a bridge on the other side. And the mayor, the last point that I want to make is, keep in mind, you have 4 minutes walking distance, and you already have a bridge there, which is 12th Street.
Right, but the thing with, when you walk like that, you're having to go all the way into Medley, cross the
understand.
railroad tracks, go into Medley, then cross that road, that
So
congested
you just
bridge.
have to go all
No,
the
that-
way to Ñoque Barato, cross 12th Street.
Right. That's a
then make
very,
left.
exactly, that's a whole different story than, and
That's
plus,
where it is.
we're entering, you have to go into Medley, you have to go into Hialeah.
Yeah, it's
where-
only 4 minutes away, though. Just keep that in mind. It's 4 minutes one way, because I walked it on Sunday. 4 minutes to get to the light, and then 4 minutes to go on the other side, because you still got to walk this way.
Right.
So you're talking about maybe 10 minutes away, and you already have a walk.
Through Medley and through
yes,
Hialeah
it's
to-
4 minutes away, though, one direction to spend $1 million. But I just
If-
thought I'd
if-
build that out.
If you want to spend $1 million on it, that's fine, go ahead and get it.
Try to find it, yeah.
That's,
I-
that's all
Absolutely,
I'm
yes.
asking
Yes,
for
that's all
is-
you're asking
is
for. Go
for,
ahead.
your
Go.
consensus to allow
Go
the,
ahead. I
us
don't
to.
know how many people the study said it would serve, but I don't know what the logistics would be on our side of the canal about parking or people
There wouldn't-
getting there.
There's no parking there. We're not providing parking, same as we don't provide
But
airport
you're gonna
parking.
have to have some kind of a drop-off, so, but anyway, they'll figure it out, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
that-
I
let's
would,
see if we
I
can
would
find
do
the
like
money.
the True Grit, in the movie True Grit, and I'd have a, what you call a ferry. And Tom Curtis needs some extra money, and he can go there, he can pull the float across and bring people back and forth.
Oh, zip line. Zip line.
A
We
zip
could
line.
charge
Zip line.
for it.
Zip line.
That's
There you
even
go.
better.
Just where
A
pants.
zip line, there you go.
Okay, all right, go for it, whatever.
Linear
This is
transportation, A to
something-
B, right?
Okay.
If the council agrees to having a pedestrian bridge there.
Well,
No, all we're
I
doing
would-
is
I would-
exploring the
I would
possibility
say
of
what,
funding for it.
what you just said, reiterated a moment ago. Let's,
They'll spend money on things like that, but.
no, but
you know,
review the costs,
Yes,
but
I'd like that
I'd like to
million for the senior
I'd like to
center.
remind the council that the last time we brought something like this up relative to CITI money, and we only wanted to spend $1,200, there was a problem with that, and here we are talking $1 million now.
Well, but Councilman, keep in mind, this is not CIT money that we have
It's a
accessible. This
special-
is a
It's a
special
separate
fund
fund,
for
separate
this.
grant.
So
And
we
it's
would
not
tap
just
into
CITT.
funds that we would
Right.
not
I
normally be
understand.
allowed, and that's what we're gonna pursue.
Just be careful of the matching grants. the
Yes.
matching
Well,
funds.
if it's
I'm just
matching
saying.
grants, that's, you know, we'll have to consider that.
be-
Right
yeah,
now,
just be
we're
careful.
just
Watch 'em.
exploring
Watch them,
this.
just watch them. I've seen them
It's
before
an
too.
exploration.
Be careful.
All right.
All right, we go to, where are we at here?
D.
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 This is Miami Foundation grant for puddle. There's what I'm talking about. Kettle or puddle?
Paddle.
Paddle.
Oh,
Paddle.
paddle.
Puddle.
Puddle the river to the springs.
At the spring.
I know, I read into, you know how I read. I read into what I want to say.
Okay.
Go ahead. I wanted to say puddle, not paddle.
Okay.
Cool.
But I didn't read the project of votes.
As we communicated to council at the October 8th public meeting, the city has been awarded $15,600 grant from the Miami Foundation in response to their annual public space challenge for renovation and development of the boat ramp. The project entitled Paddle the River, or Puddle the River, at the Springs was obtained through the collaborative efforts of both Councilwoman Mitchell and Tammy Key, Professional Services Specialist. We originally budgeted $15,000, which included $5,000 from the Miami Realtors Group and $10,000 from the council budget for fiscal year 17-18. The $5,000 from the Miami Realtors Group was to cover the installation of a new tiki hut, a concrete pad, signage, and landscaping. The remaining $10,000 was to cover the renovations of the boat ramp. With this award of $15,600 from the Miami Foundation, the city will be able to expand the project to include additional beautification of the boat ramp area, including items listed in the grant budget such as a new gate, kayak/canoe rack, landscaping, and informational signage. Informal. With this award of $15,600 from the Miami Foundation, the $10,000 was allocated in the fiscal year 17-18 budget is no longer needed for this project and can be reallocated to the fiscal year 18-19 budget or as council sees fit.
Good. Congratulations to you and
You happy?
Kimmy. Yeah, but I am disappointed that nobody's going out there. They're not.
I haven't seen any activity
haven't
there yet,
seen
but
any
I-
activity. I think
It's
we.
not, we haven't even had a grand opening, right?
Yeah, I think-
know,
I
yeah,
think-
but I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I mean,
What, the
I
tiki hut?
No.
I see people at the tiki hut.
yeah, but I mean using the ramp to take their
It's not
paddleboard
open
in.
yet. We still have the gate that blocks it off, says no parking. There's no information. It hasn't been done.
There's signs up there for
Right, but
alligators
this
and
is,
stuff.
we have to do the gate.
that's the
There's a whole
problem.
bunch, the tiki, you just heard, everything that includes in the project.
Well, I
It's a
thought it was
project.
an option to do that.
No, that's what we have to spend the money on. That's what we're getting the money for.
All right.
That's what the grant was for, to
City
enhance
Right,
it.
right.
It's always been there, we're enhancing it, Mayor.
Okay, we'll see. City attorney, anything?
No, Mayor.
City manager, anything from your
No,
department?
Mayor, I think we covered everything.
Don't we
I'll
have
add a few things.
Don't we have about the,
Some events.
yeah,
We have a spectacular costume contest at the Aquatic Center Friday, October 26th, 2018 at 7 p.m. We have Hollow Springs at the Circle Saturday, October 27th from 4 to 8 p.m. We have the pumpkin carving contest at the Halloween Springs, Saturday, October 27th, from 3:30 to 6 p.m. Again, we have the farmers market, which happens every Saturday. And then we have the pumpkin patch at the United Methodist Church through Wednesday, October 31st, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sundays 1 to 8.
Farmers market's not gonna be open Saturday.
Oh, and then the farmers market is not going to be open this Saturday, but other than that, they're open up every
Because of the
Saturday.
circle closing that we
Because
had,
of the
because of the Halloween event. so-
correct.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. What are you going dressed up as at Halloween this year?
101 Dalmatian, because my little grandbaby is going to be a Dalmatian, and my
Okay.
daughter's going to be Cruella de Vil.
Bobby?
Cruella de
You
Vil.
could go first today, because I
No, I was
cut you
gonna
off
ask you.
last.
Nah, that was-
I cut you off last time.
No,
All
I
right,
just.
well, then forget it.
I just want to mention that Halloween is right around the corner, and for all the residents to be on the lookout for the kids, especially in the evening hours when it gets dark. And I have a question. Did the legislature change where we're not going to change the clocks back? I've been asked that by like 12 people.
No,
and I
I
said,
think they approved it in Washington, right?
well, they were taught. Well, no, it's
I
got to
don't
be
think
at the
I-
state level though, because
No, but I
No, I
thought it
think they
wasn't
need-
changing this year.
Not this year.
I thought so.
I thought so too.
They are.
But then, then
Okay.
my brother said it November 4th, but I thought it was supposed to.
I did too, and I wasn't sure when people have been asking me this. I said, I don't know. I said,
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah,
Wasn't it
Well,
supposed to
generally
be
it's right around
approved by
Halloween they do it.
We'll see if you're on time the next council
Bob,
meeting.
it's supposed to be approved by Washington. Because what do you do if we're the only state that changes time?
We won't be.
Well, no.
There's other
The whole
states.
East Coast?
There's a couple more that don't.
Yeah, there's other states
There's a
that
couple
don't have
more that
daylight
well,
saving.
because Florida's divided because of that, right?
So we're gonna get to see football
At
before
2
the
o'clock.
rest of the people on the East Coast?
No, but there are states that don't have daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Right,
There
that's,
are.
that's true, that's right.
And so
That's
the-
what I'm saying.
yeah.
There's only a handful of them.
But there's about
Yeah,
handful.
like Arizona, I think, might be one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Well, yeah, because, well, the safety issue, and if that does happen, it's gonna get dark an hour earlier, so be watching out for the kids on Halloween.
But he
Be
says
after.
November 4th.
Yeah.
He's questionable on his information.
No, I'll buy that because I don't know a better answer. So.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Nice tie, sir.
Pleasure.
And Councilwoman?
I want to again thank the Miami Foundation and the Public Space Challenge for their very generous grant to our city that allows us to put money back into our coffers, and for enhancing the boat ramp project. And the other thing is just to mention that with the annexation, I know that I've gotten a lot of calls from people who thought we were going to operate a jail now. And there's been a lot of confusion, so I'm very glad that I understand the city's going to, in the Gazette, we're going to have a information session and a section on information facts about the annexation. So I think wonderful. Thank you. That's all.
That's it? Councilwoman?
I just want to say that we had a great Rotary golf tournament this weekend with a great turnout. Maybe the council should create a foursome and go play next year. Just a suggestion. And want to remind everybody that on the 26th, there's also the Women's Club is having a spaghetti dinner fundraiser, and it sounds like it's going to be good. That's it.
I just want to
Vice
thank,
Mayor?
Elizabeth Fisher for coming out and helping us out with the invocations. I think she did a fine job, and I want to thank her. That's all I have, Mayor.
I just wanted to make sure that we try to get as much as we can to, I talked to the manager about a week ago about if we could get a container sponsored by the city or get a club, and I had nothing to do part of what the Lions Club did to do that, but it's nice as, if you remember, for relief for the Keys, we had George from Blessed Trinity put a container at the rec center area. I was trying to get anybody offered to want to use our area, and that goes for anybody that might want to put a container on the property. Again, but that's nice that they're doing it. I understand it's a collection of all the Lions clubs, not just support, not a situation where it's just the city doing it. And why we don't play in the golf tournament?
Why? Because you can't play?
No,
No, you can play.
because if we play in the golf tournament, we play for free anyway. so they're not gonna get any money for the
Well, but
Rotary
we could
Club.
override that and decide we're
Well,
gonna
no,
donate money.
We could give a donation.
We could do personal donations.
Donation.
Hey, everybody be safe on Halloween.
Donation.
You know, make sure you give the kids good candy. Don't give them that stuff, the quarters. Good candy. This meeting's adjourned.